Good morning, saints, and welcome to the Dixon's Devotion with Pastor Dixon. Today we are going to be looking at Psalm chapter 11, a psalm of David written to the chief musician. And the chief musician is either Asaph or Korah. But when we look at this psalm, it's an interesting psalm. First of all, have you ever discussed something with someone and they give you some bad advice? Instead of trusting God, they tell you to do something else rather than put your trust and faith in God. And it's the situation here with David. David said the Lord is his refuge. He started out right there. Now it seems as though that David, as a king, he had many counselors. And at this time, or probably before he was a king, because the backdrop to this psalm, we are not really certain, but most people put it in the time of Samuel, 1 Samuel, around chapter 26 to chapter 20, when David was fleeing from Saul. And David was cornered many times, and his counselors were telling him, hey, watch. Do not take refuge in the Lord. Run to the hills. Do this, do that, do that. And David said, the Lord is my refuge. And I like what he says here in the verse. How then can you say to me, flee like a bird to your mountain? For look, the wicked bend their bows. They set their arrows against the string. And what David was saying simply, how could you, he was rebuking his counselors, how could you tell me, flee like a bird, when my refuge is in God? God is going to take care of me. Instead of running from the situation, I'm going to trust God. And his counselors were saying, look, and he started describing, the bows are bent, you're cornered, they have you surrounded, they all have all the arrows against you. David flee, and David said, how could you tell my soul flee when God is my refuge? And so many times people, friends and they mean well, they come and tell you, boy, what church you talking about? What God, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to do that. You need to do everything else but trusting in God. And David said, look, should I run to the mountains and do not trust in my God? But not also that. David said, if the foundations are removed, what can the righteous do? And that's a very important verse there. If the foundations be removed, then what can the righteous do? And what are these foundations that David is talking about in verse 5? When the foundations are being destroyed, what can the righteous do? It's talking about the law of God, the word of God, the testimonies of God. Also, it's talking about justice, righteousness, and all these things, equity. If these things are moved from society, what can the righteous do? But also, it's talking about faith. If the foundations of your faith are being shaken, if the foundation of your faith are being rocked by the enemy, what can the righteous do? So, ladies and gentlemen, today, when people giving you advice in your situation, and they come into you with all kind of things that you're supposed to do, before appealing to God first, and they ask you to flee, and they ask you to do this, and they ask before consulting with God, hey, right there, they already got you. Your foundation of faith is being destroyed, and you already almost lose the battle. And that's how the enemy is going to attack you. Boy, you need to do this. Girl, you need to do this. But the Bible said, why should I flee? Why should you tell my soul flee? And David rebuked his counselors, and he put his trust in God. And I hope that today, remember this, when people trying to discourage you from trusting in your God, in your situation, remember these verse. If the foundation be destroyed, what shall the righteous do? In other words, if Satan trying to come to rock your faith and destroy your faith through circumstances, what can you do? May the Lord bless you and have a wonderful weekend.